You're hungry in the early 1800s. Your food survived the journey inside a sealed metal can, but dinner may involve a hammer and chisel. Metal canning dates to 1810. Dedicated can openers don't appear in the record until the mid-1850s, roughly 45 years later. People could force earlier cans open with general tools. The real puzzle isn't whether they could get inside. It's why such awkward access remained acceptable for so long. The can began with a more urgent problem than an awkward lunch: food spoiled. Long storage and long journeys could turn provisions into waste before anyone had a chance to eat them. In 1810, Nicolas Appert published a French preservation method using sealed glass containers. That same year, Peter Durand received a British patent covering food preservation in containers that included tin-plated iron. That means iron sheet coated with a thin layer of tin, not a can made entirely from tin. Durand later transferred his patent to Brian Donkin and John Hall. They developed manufacturing and sealing methods for metal containers. At this stage, the important achievement was a durable barrier that could keep food useful. A graceful way through that barrier was a separate problem, and it wasn't yet the one the market most needed solved. That priority makes more sense when you look at some early customers. American can provisions were advertised for voyages and different climates, and they were sold to ship captains. For someone stocking a vessel, the choice wasn't between an awkward can and a convenient modern can. It was between food that could survive the trip and food that might not. A ship already carried tools and people accustomed to practical work. Opening a sturdy container with a general tool could be an acceptable nuisance if the contents remained edible after weeks or months of storage and travel. Those examples show that durability and transport mattered in important early markets. They don't map every user or establish one worldwide pattern of adoption. They do show how difficult packaging could deliver enough value to succeed before convenient access became a strong selling point. Museum and institutional histories preserve a wonderfully blunt example of the opening problem: cut around the top with a hammer and chisel. The can had done its preservation job so well that reaching the food could resemble a small piece of metalwork. That instruction is a documented period example, not a universal official method. Construction varied among makers and cans. Opening practices also differed by user, place, and date. People used knives and other tools too. The important point is the division of labor. The container held and protected its contents, while access depended on whatever general tool and effort the user could supply. Every careful strike or improvised cut made room for a different kind of invention. As cans and their uses changed, a repeatable way in could become valuable enough to support tools designed specifically around the container. In Britain, a claw-ended can opener associated with Robert Yeates was patented in 1855. It's commonly cited as a British milestone, which is more careful than calling it the first opener anywhere. In 1858, Ezra Warner patented an instrument made specifically to cut open sealed tin cans and boxes. These records give the 45-year gap a concrete ending in the mid-1850s. They don't show that one design instantly appeared in every kitchen, because a patent date isn't an adoption curve. What they do show is that the opening problem had become distinct enough to attract purpose-built solutions in Britain and the United States. Warner's patent gave the user a sequence. A piercing point entered the lid. A curved cutter did the cutting, and a looped bar helped the user control the tool. Repeated lever strokes advanced it through the metal. The action still required effort, but the work was organized. The puncture, cutting edge, and leverage now belonged to one dedicated instrument. A hammer or ordinary knife had to be adapted to the can. Warner's instrument adapted the tool itself to the job of opening one. Brute force improvisation was becoming a repeatable mechanical operation. The next important change wasn't simply a sharper version of Warner's action. In 1870, William Lyman patented a different approach. A central pivot on the lid guided a rotating cutter around its edge. The pivot organized the path. Instead of advancing a curved blade through repeated lever strokes, the user guided the cutter in a circle around the can center. The relationship between tool and lid became more controlled and repeatable. Lyman's design was an important step toward rotary opening, but it wasn't the familiar two-wheel crank opener found in many kitchens today. Later designs added guides, gripping wheels, and cranks. The useful comparison is mechanical. Warner's tool pierced and levered forward, while Lyman's cutter traced the lid's edge from a fixed center. The gap looks less absurd once the can and opener are treated as parts of a developing system. The first pressing constraint was preservation. Early voyage and supply users could accept difficult access because food that survived storage and transport solved the larger problem. As metal containers developed and their uses expanded, convenient access became more valuable. General tools gave way to dedicated ones. Dedicated mechanisms moved from piercing and levering toward a controlled circular cut. The container and its opening tools changed together as production, users, and expectations changed. That's coevolution, not a claim that one cause explains every country and date. The opener isn't merely a late accessory. It's the delayed second half of the can's design, part of the same bargain built into every secure package, keeping contents inside until the right person wants them out. Subscribe for more strange history hidden in everyday objects.